I found these wood cutouts. They're in the shape of a flower. They came 12 in a pack from Hobby Lobby for $2.99. You got 6 big ones and 6 small ones. So I'm going to put aside 4 of the big and 4 of the small. And starting with the bigger flowers, I'm going to paint them using some Wise Owl dried thyme. And I'll give that a good coat on all 4 of the bigger flower cutouts. I then took the 4 smaller ones and I'm going to use some Wise Owl Snow Owl and paint a good coat of the Snow Owl onto all 4 of the smaller wood cutouts. Now, if you have to give this a second coat on any of the big or small cutouts, you can do that. You want to make sure everything is completely dry. I found this stencil for $2.99. It's a 2-piece stencil from Hobby Lobby. It had a truck on one and then some flowers, butterflies, and bees on the second one. I'm going to find approximately the center of the flower and just mark it with a pen. And then I'm going to take one of the cutouts in the second stencil that was the shape of a flower, and I'm going to put that in the center of the smaller wood cutout and dab with some dried thyme. I'm using a foam dabber, and it just gives a little detail to the wood cutout. And it's an easy way, if you cannot hand paint this, to create this look. And I did this on all 4 of these smaller wood cutouts. And you just want a small amount of paint on your foam dabber. If you apply too much paint, it will bleed under. I had these tiny knobs that I probably had picked up from Hobby Lobby at some point, and I'm going to use some Wise Owl primer to paint these. You do not have to paint them. You can totally leave them the original color. They are like a brushed bronze. And I gave that 2 good coats of the Wise Owl primer because I wanted them to be white, and then the primer is just going to adhere better to the knob. Once I had 2 coats on and allowed that to fully dry, I have my Eternal Decor wax. We have a couple of these colors on our webpage, chalkitupfancy.com. And you just want to apply a small amount on your finger, and you can rub it on the knob, and it will grab on some of the detail. I glued the smaller flower on top of the larger flower, and I'm just adhering them together with some hot glue. We like the Gorilla Glue for the hot glue gun. You can also use some Elmer's wood glue. Next, I'm going to take some E6000. This is just a more adhesive, long-lasting glue, and I'm going to glue the small knob on the center of each flower. And you want that to fully dry. The E6000 does take a few hours to dry. I have this board I had picked up from Walmart at some point, and I'm going to paint it using some Wise Owl Snow Owl. You can prime it first. That will just help any of the knots in the wood from bleeding through, but I did not prime. I'm just doing 2 coats of the Wise Owl Snow Owl. Once that was fully dry, I'm then going to adhere the flowers onto the board. I'm going to take my first wood cutout and put it a little higher on both the first and third slat of the board, and then I'll take the other 2 and put them a little lower on the second and fourth slat of the board. I feel at this point there's really a lot you could do with these flowers, but I decided to glue them on this 4-slatted board. I got this thicker jute from the Dollar Tree. I believe it's like a 6 foot or 9 foot in length. And I'm going to add a piece to each flower so that it looks like the stem of a flower. And I'm just using the hot glue to adhere that in place. You can kind of make a little curve to it. And you want to make sure your paint is fully dry or the glue will not adhere well. And I went across the entire board until each flower had a jute stem. And again, this jute was found at the Dollar Tree. You could find them in the floral section. This is what we have so far. Then I took a thinner jute that you can also find from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to make a small little loop, and this is going to be the leaf of the plant. And I'm going to put one on both the left and right side of the stem. You can kind of just stagger them. I'm adhering those in place with a small amount of hot glue as well. And then I repeated the same thing across the entire board until each flower had 2 leaves. I'm going to take some Wise Owl black paint, and I'm going to go back to that stencil we got in the 2-pack, and I'm going to stencil on the little bees. I will do one at the top of the first slat. And again, just a small amount of paint on a foam dabber, and you could just dab lightly. And then I went to the last slat on the board and did the other bee that was on the stencil. Now you can add words to the top if you would like to. I just left mine with the stencils. And there we go. Now we just have this cute flower board that you can hang keys or necklaces or anything of your choice that is lightweight from the little knobs. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Paint products, tissue paper, transfers, and mesh stencils can all be found on our webpage at chalkitupfancy.com. And don't forget, you can also check out other tutorials on our webpage as well. Have a great day.